So, wave after wave of scrutiny, but Facebook recently cracked $700 billion in market cap. So what's that add up to?
It adds up to Wall Street doesn't care as long as they're the only game in town in advertising. And they're very good at what they do in that regard. And they don't, there's not a lot of choice. You know, most of the other competitors like Snapchat or Snap and Twitter are small, and Reddit. There's no competitive marketplace for social media. They own it, and so therefore Wall Street's rewarding it, which is exactly what Wall Street should do.
So what's the practical impact if Facebook does decide to forego political advertising, however exactly that's defined? I mean, there's still going to be political messages on Facebook. Sure. Popular people with millions of followers will still be able to do whatever it is they do. Will that solve any problem?
No, I think it's like throwing a hammer at a piano to make music. You know, it's a very subtle issue here because there's a lot of small candidates that need to use Facebook. There's a lot of people whose voices are going to be squelched. I think it needs to be much more sophisticated in terms of Google did something a little more sophisticated. Obviously, Twitter cut off political advertising, but it wasn't a big deal there. In the case of Facebook, it is a big deal. It might not be a huge moneymaker for them, but it's a big impact thing. And so it seems to me they should have a much more you know, a policy that's nuanced and difficult. And I think you're right. The political content is really the problem. Whether they be, you know, conspiracy theories or whatever the topic is, it runs rampant over Facebook. And so content, or people pretending to be other things, or news that isn't correct. And so that's where a lot of the impact comes from. But, you know, the idea that they're talking about it, that's great. I would really love to see an incredibly smart, sophisticated strategy here instead of just cutting everybody off.
Kara, for as long as I have known and followed Mark Zuckerberg, maybe known is going too far. I did interview him a few times early on. He's been a sort of digital libertarian. He's wanted to operate in this idea that there's a market in information, and then the best ideas eventually win out, and Facebook is going to be a place where everyone can participate in that market around the world for the first time, and it'll all work out. What's happened to that digital libertarian ideology, you think?
You know, I think he just changes it. I don't think he has any. I always call a lot of, it's not just Mark, and he tries really hard to learn about things. He absolutely does. I just think it's the libertarian light. It's sort of what it suits you. It's a pick and choose. It's kind of when people have religious tenets and they just pick and choose whatever works for them rather than follow along with the religion. And so I think that they pick and choose what suits them at the time, and they've shifted things. You know, they were never going to take off Alex Jones, and then they were going to take off Alex Jones. They were never going to deal with political advertising, and then they are going to deal with political advertising. I would better say this is an evolving situation, and we're trying to come to the most nuanced and complex issue. I think my issue with him is this arbiter of the truth thing. He doesn't want to be the arbiter of the truth. And I think I said in this column, if you don't want to be the arbiter of the truth, why did you build a system that requires an arbiter of the truth? So, you know, someone has to figure this out. And whether you have, you know, this board, which is never going to meet, I think, ever, the one coming in the fall, that's a way too slow and lugubrious a process. And so the issue is they've got to change their policies as things evolve. And it seems, and they have such an impact and such power that they have even more responsibility to do something. So a hands-off approach just doesn't work with this particular system. They seem to think it's simple. I think it's very complex. And so, you know, it's just where we are.